My name is Justin Thomas. I'm a vibraphonist from Baltimore, Maryland, and I've been playing the vibraphone for 20 plus years.
Wow. What led you to playing the vibraphones?
Well, I mean, first it started out with my mom seeing that I had like some musical talent, and so she took me to a couple of like elementary schools that had, or music schools that had music lessons. So I started out on piano, then went to violin, then went to steel drums because my mom is Trinidadian, and then landed at this elementary school that had a broken xylophone on a trash can. And yeah, they had a music program.
Yeah.
And the director was like, hey, you know, no one's playing this instrument. It might be on its way out on, you know, on like Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that.
Right.
And I was like, I'll play it. And ever since fell in love with it.
You're 8, you fall in love with the vibraphones. What kind of classes did you keep on, like pursuing music classes all throughout middle school, high school?
So the teacher, his name was Mr. Wendell Harrison. He's no longer with us now, but he was the jazz teacher for the elementary school. So he taught myself and like maybe a handful, I'll say like 10 to 15 other musicians or students at the time, jazz. And it was really like a quick start to like playing professionally, because as soon as we all started learning songs, he took us out into the city and we were playing. High school was very different, but what I needed, it was Baltimore School for the Arts. It was the school that I learned how to read music. I learned classical music, which is hilarious because I was thinking in my head, I don't want to learn this, you know, like, and it's funny because I use it now, and I guess I can explain later, but I use it now more than I did ever in my career. Reading music, jazz, classical, and then went to Chicago to study the same thing, just in a different city at DePaul University. So, yeah, so went there, got my bachelor's, studied the same thing, classical, jazz.
So you got your bachelor's in music education?
Jazz studies.
Jazz studies.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And then I went back to do teaching and got like a teacher certification.
So you're teaching and you're doing all of this in Chicago. Are you also doing recordings in Chicago or mainly live performances? Like
the way it looked was I was teaching during the day. Most of the kids are like out by like 2:45 p.m. And then high school, that was the arts high school too. That was actually Chicago High School for the Arts, and they modeled it after Baltimore School for the Arts. So they ended a little later, like 4:15 or something like that. And then the teaching for college was more like private lessons. So it was kind of like we scheduled it based on the students' I guess availability. So that was kind of a little bit more loose. And I was teaching jazz vibraphone for the college student. I was teaching jazz band at the high school and at the middle school and elementary school. And then doing that during the day, sometimes working weekends at Guitar Center. Or whatever days I wasn't teaching, I was working Guitar Center. And then at night was all the gigs. So, because all my gigs were like starting at like 9:30 p.m. and ending like 1 a.m. So it was just like this hamster wheel of like, just like teaching and then gigging. And then, you know, finding ways to record. I was doing a lot of production, like making beats for artists and just mainly doing that on the weekends. And just trying to make sense of it all.
What brought you to Los Angeles? And how long have you been living here in Los Angeles?
Okay, so what brought me to Los Angeles was getting tired of the hamster wheel. That's what brought me. I got tired of it. I was doing anything, everything, and I'm like, well, wait, this isn't getting the results I want. You know, I was doing jazz, playing jazz gigs, playing whatever gigs came to me, sometimes Latin jazz gigs. And I knew like deep down I wanted to do more like pop related things, you know. songwriting, you know, and yeah, that brought me to Los Angeles. I was actually considering New York, but moved to Los Angeles, and in September it'll be 4 years that I've been living.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Pretty recent.
very recent actually.
Yeah.
I mean, like, my experience with Los Angeles is very different from most that I've like talked to, you know, just because everything kind of happened so fast for me. So, but yeah, so songwriting, doing more like pop related R&B, anything that's like current.
Right.
Yeah.
You play with Capital Cities.
Yep.
That connection, did you make that here in Los Angeles? And if so, how did that happen? How'd you make that connection?
So it's a very crazy story. I made that connection in Chicago. So after I was frustrated with my hamster wheel, I was like, I gotta figure out a better way. You know, like, I want to start traveling, you know, overseas, and you know, I'm gonna play in a pop group, writing this down, praying about it, whatever. You know, just frustrated.
Yeah.
I had a jazz gig with another drummer that I knew but never played with, and that was like the summer of 2014, I believe. And yeah, summer of 2014, and I met some of the guys from Capital Cities at this gig. They were in town, and Capital Cities is based in LA, so they were in town for a tour. And I met them 2014 because they were just looking for live music, just on a whim in Chicago, and was able to connect with them. And every time they came in town, we just kind of hung out, you know, like, and they kind of was like, yeah, this is Justin, you know, he's like the local jazz musician. I'm like, I gotta change that. I don't want that, you know. So, you know, so when I came out here, I was like, okay, I gotta figure out a way to like get into the pop scene, you know, and that's usually when I kept asking people, was like, you gotta find the music directors, you gotta like find the audition and be in the know-how and get in the right circles. I'm like, man, I don't know anybody, you know, like, I'm
three people, right?
Yeah, three
That's
people.
it.
Yeah, you know, and so I'm like, well, what do I do? So I was like, well, I'll just keep going out to different events and, you know, see who I meet. And one of the guys that I know that works with Capital Cities invited me to like a party. He's like, hey, why don't you just come jam? This is like my 4th month here in LA. I'm like, all right, cool, you know, sure, you know, just come and jam. And it wasn't the full Capital Cities band, it was just one member throwing a party, you know. I'm like, okay, you know, why not? And so that was February of 2016, and I was setting up sound checking and whatnot, and I actually brought this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, the electric one.
The electric one.
Yeah, because usually when I play jazz, it's this one.
Right.
So most jazz musicians want the acoustic instrument and whatnot. But since I knew this was like a DJ party, I brought this one. I could switch my sounds and whatnot. And so the guy, one of the main guys at Capital City, saw that I was setting up this and playing it, and like right there, he was like, "Dude, like, I've never seen this before. We gotta get you on tour." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." I'm like, "You mean like now?" Like, you know, and literally, I guess as soon as I could think of, like, that fall, I was on tour with Capital Cities. Yeah, and so like that September, a year after I moved.
Wow.
Like literally the same day, a year later, I was touring with Capital Cities.
What's interesting about that, there was definitely something, or what I see there is, there's something uniquely different about, you know, your instrument that set you apart from everyone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's what captured their attention. They're like, wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get you on tour with us.
Yeah, and I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking like, man, like this is so different, it might not be digestible. You know what I mean? When they're like, no, we need different. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that story. I like that one. You also work with producer DA.
Yeah.
How did you make that connection? You know, was that here in Los Angeles as well?
Yeah, so funny thing is DA's from Chicago, but I didn't meet him there. I moved here and DA Facebooked me randomly. I knew who he was, and I had a friend who was working with him, but never thought that like I would run into DA. He just messaged me randomly on Facebook, and the funny thing is I don't use Facebook, and I happened to see that message. So it was just like, all right, sure. And he like sent me business details right away, and I was like, this is different, you know, like, because usually producers is like, let's just work on some music. But he's like on his P's and Q's, like, hey, here's the business details. And he's been getting placements for such a long time, being very successful. So, yeah, he's just like on top of it. I was like, all right, cool. So that was top of 2016, and we've been working ever since. So yeah, going on 3 years with DA as well. And our first placement was 2017. So like a year later. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Wow. The first session I worked with DA, I brought this thing, you know, because because my first year I was just bringing this.
Right.
Like in my mind, I'm like, okay, only bring this, and then for like pop stuff, I bring this. I brought the acoustic vibraphone, and I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I show up at his house, and we're working on some music, and it's like, okay, next track. I was like, man, I've never worked this fast before. You know, like I think we like did like 10 songs the first day. Yeah, and I was just like,
how many hours?
I'd say maybe 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, just like seeing his workflow, it was just like, whoa, okay, like I gotta step it up. You know, like I gotta get my turnaround time quick. You know, it still took a long time for me, but you know, it was very inspiring. You know, because he's like, yeah, I'm on to the next one. Okay, on to the next one. On to the next one. So, and it just, you know, it was definitely. I felt like I was at a place where it's like I could get used to this. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't. I mean, for me, it wasn't pressured that we were working that fast. It was just new.
Did any of those songs that you worked on your first session, did any of those get placed somewhere?
Not the first session, but maybe like the third session.
Okay.
That was the one that got placed a year later.
What song was that?
That was Pie.
Oh, the Chris Brown?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Future, right?
Yeah, Future with Chris Brown. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when DA hit me, was like, dude, like, very rarely does a songwriter that I work with gets placed within like a year. Or, yeah. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I don't know. Like, you know, I'm just working.
Right.
Like, yeah, let's just keep working. So,
yeah,
that was that song.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
One last question I just remembered.
Yeah.
Any advice for a starting musician? You know, they just graduated from college, or they're looking to move to LA, you know?
What do you wish someone had told you?
Yeah. Have a plan. Because that hamster wheel really, I mean, I guess the hamster wheel also propelled me to like come to LA and like not play around. Just like, all right, I gotta do this, you know? So having a plan, I think, gets you there a lot faster. And like, I was writing a plan in Chicago, but I was not looking at it every day. I was looking at it like every couple months, you know, thinking that I was being intentional, not realizing like, no, I need to have like mini goals, long-term goals, and achieve the mini goals every day, you know. So that, I would say, you know, is definitely something you want to have as a plan, and seeing it every day, being intentional about it. And even if you're afraid, still go after it.
All right, Justin.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank
man.
you very much.